Hello, my name is Madalena Dodgens. My husband Mike and I have been missionaries in Spain since 1985. I've been asked to share one of my favorite verses with you. What is a favorite verse? Well, I'm sure that all of you have many favorite verses, but it's a verse that God has used at a particular time in your life when you needed to see His presence and power in your life. The verse I have chosen is Song of Solomon 2:4. He brought me to his banqueting table, and his banner over me is love. Years ago, when I graduated from Bob Jones University, I decided to continue my studies at Clemson University. And when I moved from Greenville to Clemson, one of the promises that I made to God was that if I had a need, I would never tell anyone, only Him. He is my Father, and I trusted Him, and I had complete confidence that whatever my need was, He would supply it. While at Clemson, I began working with a Christian ministry, the Forever Generation. They had an evangelistic outreach on campus, and when I graduated from Clemson, I continued to work full-time with that ministry. My friend Karen and I rented a little apartment in a mill village near the Clemson campus. And one of the first things I did when I lived in that town was I went door to door to see if there were any children who would be interested in a Saturday Bible club. One of the little boys that came to that club was named Tim. He was about 7 or 8 years old. And his family was very poor. His mother had heart problems. His father didn't work. And sometimes Tim would go door to door asking for food. He went to church with me on Sunday mornings. And one Sunday morning, I was sitting there watching the offering plate come down our row, and the Holy Spirit said, "Put the money in your purse in the offering plate." And I struggled with that. The money in my purse was $1. That was all I had. I didn't have any more money at home or in the bank. And yet the Holy Spirit was insistent and said, "Put it in the offering plate." And so I did. And I felt a peace and satisfaction knowing that I had been obedient. But that dollar was what I was planning to use to buy lunch at McDonald's on the way home. Now, in 1975, $1 went a long way. You could actually buy 2 hamburgers for $1. So on the way home, I was hungry. And as I passed by McDonald's, I thought, why did you put that $1 in the plate? Now you don't have any food. I knew I didn't have any food at home. And as we got home, Tim said, "Can I eat with you?" And I said, "Well, let's look and see what there is." And I opened the refrigerator, and there was a little piece of cheese in there and 1 slice of bread. And I made a half-grilled cheese sandwich and gave it to Tim. And he was very grateful. And after lunch, there was a knock at the door. And it was the neighbor lady, the lady that lived right next door. I had met her, but she'd never invited me to her house. And this day she said, "Have you eaten lunch?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Well, I've made all this food and invited this family, and they didn't show up at the last minute. Something came up, and, well, we've already eaten. But if you want to come over and eat, you can." And I said, "Well, thank you very much." I will never forget what I saw when I walked into her kitchen. She had a round table, and it was completely covered with food. There was a roast beef, There was fried chicken, there were vegetables and several salads, and there was no place for me to sit down. And the lady looked at me and the table, and then she moved things back and gave me a plate. And she said, "Eat all you want. And over there on the kitchen counter are some pies. Help yourself to dessert." And I looked, and on the counter there were a line of fruit pies. Some of them hadn't even been cut. And I remember sitting down at the table and looking up at the wall over the table, half expecting to see a banner that said love. He brought me to his banqueting table, and his banner over me is love. If I had not been obedient to the Holy Spirit and put that dollar in the offering plate, I would have bought a hamburger or two on the way home and shared it with Tim. And then when my neighbor asked me, "Have you eaten?" I would have had to say yes. He brought me to his banqueting table, and his banner over me is love.